Destroyer Labyrinthitis, album review, let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest from Destroyer, Canadian musician Dan Behar and company. Dan is one of my all-time favorite singers, songwriters, and lyricists. And look, I'm gonna be honest, never been that crazy about his debut, We'll Build Him a Golden Bridge. But Dan picked up things very quickly with his next album, City of Daughters. It's not his most flawless album, but tracks like No Ceasefire and Schools and the Girls That Go There, honestly, are some of his earliest masterpieces. And for some time after that, Dan was on quite the roll. Thief, the very legendary and elegant Street Hawk, A Seduction. There's also the very progressive This Night. I mean, even when I wasn't completely infatuated with Dan's work on albums like Your Blues, which I'm sorry, I've never been that into, except the title track, that's a good one. And Trouble in Dreams, it's very average. But even in those cases with those albums, I was still finding things to like about them. Outside of that, though, Dan really got back on track very quickly. I mean, what else do I have to say about Destroyer's Rubies? It is a gorgeous album and really one of my favorites in his discography. There's also the very 80s and classic synth-pop oriented Kaput. And this might just be me, but I've always thought Poison Season is wildly underrated. It wasn't until recently that me and Dan kind of fell off of the same page again. I mean, I've always thought Ken was incredibly safe. I mean, Tinseltown Swimming in Blood's great, but most of this album was very tame. And Have We Met has grown on me a little bit, but it's still not up to Dan's standard. Thankfully, though, most of these new singles are some of his best in years. Let's chat about this thing. This album starts off with It's in Your Heart Now, and honestly, it's a pretty great start. It's very spacious. It shows Dan really taking its time. It's, very retro sounding. It's super vast as well, and just, I don't know, just has a really great atmosphere. It reminds me a lot of his material on Have We Met, but just a little bit more thought out. Classy, too. And you know what? It's a simple start for Dan. It really is at the end of the day. But honestly, I'm okay with that. I needed that. It gives him a lot of time to really bring in the sounds of this album, really, build up these sounds, and then grow around him really nicely. Also, honestly, this is a pretty ballsy start. It is a near 7-minute track. In a way, it reminds me of something that would have shown up on Kaput, but I mean that in the best way. It's a great start. I mean, personally, I was kind of worried going into this album that Dan maybe was losing some steam, but honestly, with this, it shows that he's got a lot left in the tank. Suffer, on the other hand, one of my favorite deep cuts here, probably my favorite. It's a great track all around. We get these almost industrial synths here, but it's a really great twist from Dan, and it actually seems right at home among his very intense vocal performance. It's also one of the most forward-thinking instrumentals here. It's great. All My Pretty Dresses is really nice. I love this very sweet, very breezy instrumental. When Dan really locks in on that throwback 80s sound, it's good. It's really good. And to me, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like he sounds so much more confident right now. And not only that, but he sounds like he has a lot more to say than he has on his last couple of albums. It's really classy. It lives up to Destroyer's name, and honestly, the ending instrumental little passage that we get, it's nice. Tintoretto is for you. I've loved it as soon as it dropped as a single. I love the winding passages that we get here, the very quirky lyrics that we get here. Dan kind of comes off as some oddball prophet here, and that's kind of where I like seeing him the best. It has so many layers, but honestly, I would really, tell you to sit with this with a lyric sheet, and honestly, I think it'll help a lot. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it makes things more rewarding at the end of the day. And I love when that big, bulky synth beat drops. It once again reminds me of Have We Met, but a lot more interesting and more thought out. Now, between you and me, I think that there are still some moments that are holding me back from really loving this album. For one, June, not crazy about it. I honestly heard it at first as a single and got worried about this album. And it has grown on me a little bit, but not too much. I mean, there are some really nice moments. Love the sort of breezy, jazzy moments that we get here. But this sounds like a lot of odd ideas just clashing constantly. And there are some good ones, but not enough to fill 6 minutes, let me tell you. And the title track, Labyrinthitis, is one of the most disappointing things here. I mean, if you heard this bad boy over here, you will know what Dan can do with an extended instrumental interlude. This is so far from that. This adds nothing, and worse, it just sounds bad. And while this album isn't perfect, because there are some snoozers late in the album, I still think this is the best thing Dan's done in quite a while. Eat the Wine, Drink the Bread, it's fantastic, loved it as a single at first, and I still do love it. It's also one of the most straightforward tracks of the bunch. But I think that's a welcome change. I also liked his angsty, kind of pissed off lyrics. Once again, love how visual it is at the end of the day. This is a great single. It might be my favorite track here. It Takes a Thief, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. This is way too straightforward, to the point where it doesn't really even sound like a Destroyer track. No, this sounds like a track that he would have taken vocals for the New Pornographers. And that's not a bad thing. It's just not what I show up to for on a Destroyer album. I mean, yeah, I do like the horns that pop in here. Those are catchy and a nice twist, but the nuance of Dan's music in Destroyer is just gone on this track. In the States is... It's a tough one. It's pleasant on the ears, and I do have to commend once again, Dan's appreciation and genuine love for the glory days, the early days of synthpop. He clearly gets the sound. It's tough though, because as this track rolls on, Dan kind of sounds more and more bored. These song lengths don't exactly help either. Like this one, once again, is 7 minutes. Not only that, he starts repeating himself halfway through. It kind of sounds like he ran out of ideas halfway through this track. But the last song is a great finale. This is a very straightforward sort of ballad with Dan's usual sort of snarky lyrics, maybe even a little cynicism thrown in there, but this is where I love hearing Dan. This is a really nice, light on the ears, and beautiful finale, the way that Destroyer does things. This album's not perfect, but compared to where Dan has been on his last two albums, where I thought there was a massive disconnect, I'm happy with most of this album. It has a lot of great ideas. It's very spacious. It's got a very great set of very breezy, very jazzy instrumentals. If you liked albums like Kaput, maybe this isn't as perfect, but it's certainly something you're going to want to hear. Dan's back on track in my book, and I'm happy that he's here. Feeling a decent 7 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.